Good day, Industrial Advisor listeners, and thank you for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, please do so by clicking subscribe wherever you podcast. Click the like button and hit the bell if you want notifications of when we put up new content. Leave us a comment about anything we discuss here today or general comments about the show. Now, let's get into it.
Welcome to our Industrial Advisors Podcast, live from South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, at the IAMC conference. We have Bill Condon and Matt McGregor, and one of our favorite people at Colliers with us today, Michelle Needles. Michelle's awesome. We have a great background and track record with Michelle. She's head of enterprise solutions and executive vice president at Colliers. You've been in the commercial real estate space your entire career. At Colliers, about the last 10 years or
10
so.
years.
We've worked with Michelle on many accounts, many
Undefeated,
pitches.
by the way.
Undefeated. Every time we bring Michelle to a pitch, we win. I think that speaks more about Michelle than it does us.
The question is, why do we go to a pitch without her?
I don't know. That's a good question. But Michelle's awesome, great at what she does, great teammate. And you live in Montana, which is really cool.
Commercial real estate hub of America.
Yes. But you're kind of at airports all the time, right? So, you get to spend your weekends in Montana, basically.
Pretty much. And it's been a lot easier with COVID now that we have so many people working remotely all across the country. And yeah, it's brought a great balance to my life. I really enjoy it. So we've been in Montana for 11 years now.
Yeah. Well, before we dive into some of the business stuff, what do you do for fun?
So we do a lot of boating in the summer.
Yeah.
The season is never as long as we like, but especially with fire season, it's so nice to be out on the boat, hiking. I've recently taken up pickleball because I am middle-aged, and that's what middle-aged people do, and I love it.
Yeah.
So I've been playing pickleball a lot.
Awesome.
And then I will say one of my hobbies the last couple of years has been Yellowstone spotting. So they film the television show Yellowstone in the valley I live in.
Mm-hmm.
So the ranch is based in Darby, Montana, and all of the photography and sets are built in Hamilton, and I live in Hamilton. So it's been really fun the last couple of years seeing our town and our community on television, and then occasionally seeing celebrities in person. So I do love that.
And you got me into the show, by the way, and you told me, and I've got a story for you, as you know, that I've held out on you. But you were on set, right? You were an extra.
I was. So they had an open audition call for extras, and I applied, and it just so worked out that it fit into travel schedules and work schedules and deadlines. And so I did the entire season 5, episode 1, election night scene. You would not recognize me because when I went to set, they told me that I didn't look Montana enough.
Oh.
So they curled my hair. So I had this Dolly Parton size hairdo. So if you watch the John Dutton election night scene, not to give away any spoilers, but if you do spot a very short, blonde, curly-haired woman.
That is you. Okay.
That's amazing.
What season was that?
Season 5.
Season 5.
Okay, season 5. Okay.
Season 5, episode 1.
Okay.
So, and our family farm truck was also featured in one of the throwback scenes in season 5. So
it was Montana enough.
It was Montana.
That's awesome. You don't look Montana enough. We got to
Hilarious.
fix you up a little bit. Yeah, that's great.
What would they do with Bill?
Nothing. Yeah.
A cowboy hat. That's
Yeah,
probably
that's
about
right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot
Yes.
of cowboy hats.
Okay, so
Yeah.
my story, I started watching it, and
Mhm.
I was probably, I don't know, season 4. This was last summer. I was into it, and I went out to a ranch with a client, and he has a helicopter, and so I flew in, I forget where I flew in, but he picked me up in the helicopter, and then we went to his ranch, which is in Darby. And we're out like 4-wheeling on his ranch, having a good time. And I said, hey, isn't this the area that Yellowstone is filmed? And he goes, well, actually, they did like 5 episodes on our ranch.
Yeah.
And I said, well, which one? He goes, I don't know. I've never seen the show. Right. And I'm like, okay, that's crazy. And I said, well, where's like the actual Yellowstone? He's like, just a couple miles here. You want to get the helicopter, go see it. Well, of course, I'm going to go see it. Right. So we jump in the helicopter and we buzz over. Well, he had never actually seen the show and he didn't know like anything about it. And so
Yeah.
I spot it and I'm like, go over here because I want to take pictures. Right. I'm like, go lower. And we're spinning around for like 10 minutes and he's dropping and going lower. And all of a sudden we get low enough. They're filming and all these people are like going like, stop. And like, okay, so that's my Yellowstone story.
That's
So
spectacular.
we stopped their filming.
That's awesome. Cost them some money, man.
That's right.
Yeah. You don't pay those people to just sit around, That's great. Well, are you guys done with Yellowstone stories?
We're done.
Okay,
Go ahead. Let's
got
do a
it.
podcast.
Yeah. So, let's talk about your career path. The commercial real estate space is a very male-dominated kind of industry. Now that's changing, which is good.
Rapidly.
Yeah, which is fantastic. But you have really risen the ranks throughout your career. It's been really fun to watch. And so tell us a little bit about your career path and why you think you've been so successful.
Well, I will say I attribute any of the success I've had in my career to my parents. I know that a lot of folks say that, but the reason I say it specifically is my father from a very young age always taught me that women can do anything. There's nothing you can't do. So even when I was really little, 5, 6 years old, I was constantly playing football with my brother who is 5 years older than me. And if I couldn't find someone to play on my team, my dad would be my partner.
Yeah.
And so his sponsorship of me, he wasn't just a girl dad. He was really this phenomenal advocate for his child.
Yeah.
And so that really helped me go into college really well prepared to compete. So I played rugby in college. And I wasn't afraid of challenges, but I also knew that part of being sponsored by someone and having allyship that's really strong means that you're constantly looking for those opportunities to promote others.
Yeah.
So in some cases we call it collaboration, but I find it to be a mutual allyship amongst my peers.
Yeah.
And so I've been, that's something that I've been a participant of and then trying to be a leader of my whole career. And when I started in commercial real estate right out of college, it was something where I seized every opportunity to raise my hand. Where can I be useful? Where can I help? And then even in situations where I was doing the grunt work of a project, I harnessed those opportunities to be part of the case study. And I built this book of business that was much more impressive than I was because I realized I raised my hand, I volunteered, I pitched in and I stood up and did the things that no one else wanted to do.
Yeah.
And for better or for worse, it served me really well. And what I want to do in this next stage of my career is find more and more opportunities for young men and young women where they don't have to raise their hand to take the grunt work, but that we find good opportunities for their engagement to be involved. So if I'm bringing a rising female leader into a room, she's not just taking notes in a meeting, but she's an active, genuine participant in the room so that she can grow. So I'm trying to ease the burden a little bit on the next generation. But when I started in the industry, started in lease administration for a small niche outsourcing company, by the time I had my first transaction client, it was waste management.
Yeah.
So I started my career in industrial. It does not get more industrial than waste management. If you've not worn protective gear to walk through a transfer station, you haven't lived. So, and I had great advocates, even on the client side there, who saw my drive and saw my passion and wanted me to be their primary point of contact for the number of years that I worked with them. And that really helped bring me to where I am today, where I was working with broker partners on a variety of accounts, grew to be an account manager, grew into business development and leadership across account structuring and solutioning. But again, always asking where I can pitch in, where I can learn, where I can add value.
That's awesome.
Speaking of value, we know how much value you add. You're incredible in pitches, and you are maybe the most sophisticated about what Colliers offers. But let's talk specifically about you for the listener.
Sure.
What do you do at Colliers, and how are you a difference maker?
So I'm our enterprise client solutions leader, and that is enterprise sales solution development for outsourced contract-based clients. So at Colliers, we have market solutions, which are for broker-led accounts, and enterprise solutions for traditional outsourced contract-based accounts. And I work in partnership with that team. So we try to ensure we have really strong collaboration. And where I think that I'm a difference maker is not just seeing the client opportunity and designing a solution. Okay, they have this many transactions. They need this many account people servicing these various areas, but really deeply understanding, and there's a case study I'd like to share in a little bit around Cummins. Where is it that their head of real estate and their team really want to be? What are we not reading within the RFP? What's important to them and bringing those opportunities as part of the structure of what we do? So I would say where I am trying to make a difference is designing solutions that meet the needs, not just of our client companies, but our client individuals and their growing workforce, so that these are all opportunities for them to grow successful ways.
Yeah. So let's stay on the topic of, because you always do a great job of providing really good solutions for our clients, but you're super innovative. So talk about how you use innovation to kind of help guide our clients.
Innovation's such a big word.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we think of innovation, our mind drifts to the obvious tools, like the toolkit of using AI to abstract leases, using AI to help drive better business decisions. But I also think that being innovative means peeling back the layers and bringing solutions for our clients that do make a difference in what they do. And so I spoke about Cummins about a minute ago, and there was an opportunity there when we were developing the solution for the client. Maybe there were 3 to 4 questions in the RFP related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I thought, it didn't seem like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The client is female. All of her team are all female. And I thought, this is a woman who's passionate about growing leadership in the diverse space. This doesn't fit. So then we started doing more research, and we found that Cummins was one of the first 20 members of the $1 Billion Roundtable, which is a commitment to spend $1 billion within diverse firms across their entire supply chain and service contracts. Second was that the founders of Cummins actually marched on Washington in the 60s, significant in the civil rights movement. So I thought, answering 3 to 4 questions on DE&I, that's not going to cut it. Yeah. So what we did was we built a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan for Cummins that embraced supplier diversity, which is what they wanted. But it also had all of these softer metrics around the makeup of our account team, having a calendar of innovation that we were bringing them specifically around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And while we were going through the process with them, through the RFP process, we built out with Brett Swango, who's our head of workforce analytics, an opportunity to look at their workforce from a diversity standpoint. And we actually put that plan into action last year in Atlanta. And we were able to use diversity metrics to drive our site selection process. We used diverse local brokers so they could capture the diverse spend, and then rolling out that site, and we case studied it with the client. And it was maybe innovative in the way that it was executed, because we were solving a problem they hadn't told us, but that we knew existed.
Yes.
And it's been incredibly valuable partnership. And in fact, last week, Colliers was just awarded one of their designated service providers of the year because of our diversity, equity, and inclusion program.
Fantastic. Yeah. Making a difference.
Yeah. You're always great in like presentations, and obviously through RFPs, your example about reading into what's not there, right? And you're a great listener as well. Give us an example of something you've done. You've given us an example of Cummins, but where you used a lot of the Colliers tool, and what was the outcome for a client?
Gosh, I feel like there are so many examples, small to large. Let me think about that one for a minute.
Well, one of the things I think I've seen with you, like Barry, who's a great client of ours, right? Like you do such a good job of quarterbacking like what the client needs, and then putting them in touch with the right people at Colliers, right? I mean, we have so many different services, and sometimes we don't even know what we have, right? But you understand everything better than anybody, and can always find like the right solution for the client.
Well, there are so many examples of where we've brought innovation in the full Colliers toolkit as part of the bid or RFP process. And there are so many that we have grown our relationships because of our innovation, our innovative approach with them. Probably the best example that I can think of where we've brought that full approach is with Nestle. So with Nestle, they went out to bid several years ago, and they were not convinced that one provider could do it all. So they had bid out the regions individually and sequentially. And Colliers came in, and in large part because of our team, because of some of the tools that we were bringing forward. But then we kept winning the regions successively. And Chris Lockey, who's our head of client experience, we all know, a phenomenal difference maker in the industry.
Sure. Yep.
Chris led a process with the Nestle account team where they used tools to gather information around assessments of the organization, using voice of the customer surveys, using our analytics and technology to visualize that. But it was about an 18-month process where they helped to really harmonize the 3 different regions together, both internally within Nestle, but also externally within Colliers, to create a really strong workforce-centered solution for them going forward. So helping them internally within their company, it was, I would say, just a phenomenal opportunity that we reference as a case study time and time again, because it may not have been the flashy technology, but it was the time spent with their people that I think was truly innovative.
Great example. You mentioned earlier that you moved to Montana and, in this new era of work from home, and you're a phenomenal example of how successful that can be. Tell us about some of the challenges with office right now, and what do you see the future of? I mean, we're a little bit in trouble for offices in major cities and even small cities, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Before you answer that, though, I think it's good to point out that you kind of lead all the sectors on the enterprise solution. So Matt and I, where we're focused on industrial, you have insight and visibility into all of it. So talk about office.
Well, this is the point in the podcast where I would say I do not speak for the brand or the company, but this is my personal opinion of where we're at with office. I do think that hybrid work is here to stay. I think we saw that even in the early 2000s when you saw companies like American Express leading with their Blue Work initiatives and having employees work 2 days a week from home, not as a cost-saving maneuver, but as a quality of life maneuver for their employees. And that was a benefit that they shared openly. And I do think that once employees in the office sector saw the value of being able to have some time from home, I think that the 5-day work week, in my personal opinion, I think the 5-day work week is in jeopardy. I think 5 days in the office is a foregone conclusion. In my opinion, I do think that we will have greater flexibility. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't think it impacts the office footprint as much as we think it does, because you still need space for people at peak. But I think it will give companies greater opportunity to grow and expand. I do think that the technology companies, especially when they went immediately to work from home in early 2020, what they found was that their hiring patterns shift. They were able to employ outside of their traditional tech hubs and find great talent elsewhere throughout the country. So I do think you're going to have role-based segmentation and role-based assignment for where that return to work or where the hybrid really is defined. So I don't think it's going to be a full 5 days a week, everyone, everywhere.
Right.
I think that it will be much more company by company, perhaps by industry sector, and then doing a lot of role-based assessment where you can have folks who have some level of hybrid in their role. And folks who are shared or who are fully across the country, folks like myself, you will see them become much more heavily hybrid, because if you're on airplanes anyway, even when I was based in Chicago, if I got in at midnight the night before, the last thing that I wanted to do was go into the office at 7 o'clock the next morning.
Yes.
Right.
And I don't think I'm alone in that. So I do think we're going to see more and more of that. I will say a lot of the portfolios that I've worked within have had access to have largely been optimized already. So the return to work is really complete. That return to office shift, that's complete. And now companies are looking at what next, where next. So where will hybrid be for us, for our culture? And part of that is the demographic of the company. It's, the need for independent worker collaboration and the study of what the work entails.
It's a fascinating one to watch. And in particular, like some of the big cities like Chicago and San Francisco, and just watching those markets kind of start to recover. Still a ways to go, but starting to recover. So
it's been interesting to watch. I think the challenge is that none of us have all the answers. I mean, there's really no metric that, that's a great predictor of what will happen next. But I do think that the outcome will be a strong one. I think that the outcome of having people achieve a little bit more balance in their lives and be able to have doctor's appointments, take their children to school, leave early on occasion, those are things that we need to do, and we shouldn't be punished for them. It's a little bit of balance is good for everybody.
Well said.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, thank you for taking the time. We tell people all the time that you're one of the most talented people at Colliers. We appreciate being a teammate with you.
Thank you.
And one more thing I think that you just do as well as anyone is just uplift others in the organization. So keep up the great work, and thanks for taking the time with us.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks so much, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Awesome.